A choice is an act of selecting or making a decision when faced with two or more possibilities. An act of selecting or making a decision when faced with two or more possibilities. In other words, you cannot make a choice if all you have is one choice. Three big choices you have to make in your life. Those were the first three choices Adam had to make. When God created Adam, he had to make three important choices. And I want to suggest to you that you have to make those choices too. There are three big choices everybody has to make in life. So we're going to run through the three top choices of your life. The first big choice you have to make is in Genesis chapter 2, verse 15 to 17. Genesis chapter 2, verse 15 to 17. Then the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to tend and keep it. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. For in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. The first important choice everybody has to make is to choose what you feed on. To choose what you feed on. God created us in his image, but you have to choose what you feed on. Adam was given the option to determine what he was going to feed on, either from the tree of life, that is to feed on life, or to feed on good and evil. Now, when the Bible talks about feeding here, it's not just food for the body, but feeding here is what you allow into your system. You have to choose what you allow into your system. You have to choose the words you allow into your system. You have to choose what you hear. You have to choose what you read. You have to choose the words that you come into contact with. If you feed yourself a diet of hatred, you will be hateful. If you feed yourself a diet of fear, you will be fearful. If you feed yourself a diet of lust, you will be lustful. If you feed yourself a diet of love, you will be loving. If you feed yourself a diet of faith, you will have faith. If you feed yourself a diet of holiness, you will be holy. So you have to choose what you feed on. Nothing will be forced into your system. The second big choice he had to make is how to call the things that come his way. You have to choose what you eat. You have to choose what you're going to call the things that come your way. Genesis chapter 2, verse 19. Out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every bird of the air, and brought them to Adam to see what he would call them. And whatever Adam called each living creature, that was its name. Adam did not create the conditions. He didn't create any animal. He's just there minding his business, and God parades these animals in front of him, and he says, you name them. Elephant, that's the name. If you call this one antelope, that's the name. Whatever name you give it, that's what it will be to you. You have a choice how to call the things that come your way in life. In life, there are things that will come your way you don't control. You don't control your parents who gave birth to you. You didn't choose your parents, but you have to choose what to call them. You can't control your nationality to a very large extent, but you have to determine how to call it. There are some things that may come your way. It may be trouble, it may be tragedy, it may be difficulty, but you must determine how you call it. When I was a young boy, at the age of 15, my mother died. The next year, At the age of 16, my father died. I had to choose what I'll call myself. If I call myself orphan, I'm going to be orphaned for life. If I call myself a man after God's heart, I'm going to pursue the heart of God for the rest of my life. And if you lose your job and you call yourself jobless, that's what you've described yourself, and so shall it be. You may lose your job. You may lose money. You may go through tragedy, but whatever comes your way, you have a choice how to label it. Because the label you put on your experiences will brand your experiences in your memory and in your lifetime. You have a choice what to call the things that come your way. Abraham was told, go sacrifice your son Isaac. He decided to relabel that instruction. He said, I'm going to the mountain to worship, and me and the boy are coming back. Somebody else would have said, well, this is the last day of your life, Isaac. We're going to the mountain, and you'll not see mama again, and you'll not see daddy again. Say goodbye to the dog, because you're not coming back to the dog. But he said, we're going and we're coming back. Somebody say, I have a choice. If you call your marriage a prison, it will be a prison to you. If you call your husband a tiger, he will pounce on you. If you call your wife a witch, she will feed on you. You have a choice how to label the things that come your way. Somebody say, I have a choice. If you choose to call Africa third world, you will be third in everything. And this is the kind of third where there is no fourth. And the third big choice Adam had to make, was he had to choose whom to welcome into his life. You choose whom you welcome into your life. Genesis chapter 2 verse 21 to 23. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall on Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place, and the rib which the Lord God had taken from man he made into a woman. Then he brought her to the man, and Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Now God did not force Eve on Adam. God just paraded her and says, that's it. Adam had to make a choice, either to welcome him into his life, or her into his life, or reject her. That's his choice. He is not forced to accept her. So when God presents this woman, he makes a choice and says, I want this person in my life. She is now bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, by my choice, not by the will and the imposition of God. You have a choice whom you allow into your life. May I just tell you this, that friendship is not by force. Friendship is not by force. And anyone who wants to be your friend by force most likely has an agenda that is not in your interest. And don't feel bad if somebody wants to befriend you and you don't feel like befriending them now. Because you have to determine who is coming into your life and who is exiting out of your life. Don't open your life to everybody to enter, because some people will come to your life and mess you up. When people enter your life, they enter with all that they have and all that they are. If they are wicked, they enter with wickedness. The people you choose to allow into your life. Because when you make a decision, when you're going to consult those people, they are the gatekeepers of your wisdom. If you are a woman, for example, and somebody comes to tell you, well, I saw your husband is having an affair with another woman, Sister Margaret, somewhere there. When you hear that information, your heart is going to start boiling. Then you start devising mischief. So all kinds of ideas are going to come into your mind. I'm going to face Margaret and I'm going to spray pepper into her eyes and I'm going to give her dirty slaps. All kinds of ideas are coming through your mind. You're processing them because they said Margaret is having an affair with your husband. You have no proof, but that's what you've heard. Now, after you've processed all your anger, you're going to bounce off your idea with whom you have allowed into your life. So you're going to ask somebody close to you and say, this is what I've heard that my husband is doing, and I hear Margaret is responsible. What should I do? Now, if that person is not intelligent, they're going to say, let's go together and let's give her a beating. At that time, you have decided your destiny. Now, if you talk to another person, that person would say, by the way, have you cross-checked? Have you verified? Do you have a second opinion? The person who tells you that will help you to think through. It may be true, it may not be true, but now you have somebody who has given you wisdom to process information right. You have to choose who comes into your life and who exits your life. If you are an angry person, don't get angry people around you. It's a bad combination. It's petrol and fire. If you're temperamental, get a level-headed person. If you're level-headed, get somebody who is more aggressive in life. Because if everybody around you is level-headed, you have an idea, they say, no, I don't think it will work. I don't think it will work. Because all your friends are afraid to take a risk. So you have to choose who you bring into your life. Adam chose a woman, the opposite, not another man into his life. A woman. And in the physical sense, that is right. But it also means that most of the people you bring into your life must be people who complement you. People who complement you. People who add to your life. People who complete your life. If you bring in everybody who is like-minded like you, there's going to be serious distortion of perception. Because everybody's going to see it the way you see it, and nobody gives you the option to see the other side. You have to choose whom you bring into your life. Whom you bring into your life. You have to choose what you feed on. One of the things I have noticed is people normally don't choose what they feed on. Sometimes you ask people, why do you go to a particular church? They say, but it's close to me. So if you're hungry and all the restaurants around your home are selling cockroach fried and sauteed cockroach and parboiled cockroach, and the other is selling kebab cockroach. Now, are you going to say, well, all these restaurants around me serve cockroach and I'm hungry, so I'm going to eat it? No, you're going to bypass them and go to where the meal is served to your satisfaction. So if you can do that for a restaurant, why don't do that for your spiritual food? Why don't you do that? So if this is where you get fed, if you move away from here 50 miles, you drive back here because this is where you get fed. You have to choose where you feed. Not based on proximity, but based on your dietary needs. Based on your future aspirations. If you find a church where you are fed, you stay there. You don't allow proximity to determine. You have to choose how you label the things that come your way. Life is going to throw you some tough situations, but you have to label each one of them. And you have to choose who comes into your life. Nobody's going to force themselves into your life. No friendship is, but he is. My best friend when I was 12 is not my best friend now. I haven't spoken to him for 30 years. My best friend when my 20s is not my best friend now. Because sometimes you outgrow friends. You outgrow them. You can keep them for nostalgic purposes. Once in a while, you remember that, you remember that, you remember, and that's all your conversation is. All you remember, you remember, you remember. Any conversation that has too much you remember is not productive. Because you don't live life based on the past you remember. It's on the future you are going to. So you have to choose whom you allow into your life. If God brings you a mentor who is good for you, even if he disciplines you, you allow him into your life. Then the praise singer who is going to praise your weaknesses to your downfall. Choose the people you allow into your life. These are the three big choices Adam had to make. And these are the three big choices you've got to make in your life if you're going to be successful.